Hey Gemini, welcome to your timeless reading. I trust that it will resonate with you at the time and place you need it, because that's how I'm doing things these days. And as always, use your discernment when listening to tarot readings. Okay, I'm pulling from my Iris Oracle deck and my Rider-Waite deck. Whoops, I got a new one. I realized I didn't have a traditional deck. And then I was doing some kind of like art projects. Oh, wow. Okay. And I realized I needed something like this. Look, you're going through a big ass transformation. And I started doing your reading and it was getting a little like fuzzy or cloudy, kind of. It was a little confusing and overwhelming and chaotic. And the additional cards I just pulled really only confirm that. You're going to be okay, Gemini. It's going to be great. But really, and I'll go through the cards. Okay. From my Iris Oracle deck, we got Twin, we got Calm Within Transformation, and we got Something That Is Never Truly Yours. Got it. Okay, and then we also got King of Wands, Knight of Pentacles in reverse, the World, Judgment, Ten of Wands, Four of Cups, Five of Swords, Nine of Swords, Ace of Pentacles, and Death. Bam. Look. Gemini, a lot is happening for you right now, and it's okay. It's just a lot. And so I think maybe a key that we can start out with for you is calm within transformation. This, and okay, we're gonna get there. Okay. You ready, Gemini? Here we go. The first two most important cards to talk about are Judgment and the World. These are the last two cards of the Major Arcana. We got 2021. But with all of this major energy coming up, it feels like really you're dealing with not only the end of a chapter of your life or the end of a cycle of your life. You're ending like a book of your life. Whether you're 18 listening to this or 70 listening to this, it doesn't matter. It's like your life from this point moving forward is going to be drastically different than everything you've experienced in the past up to this point. Particularly because it seems you have changed so deeply and your worldview has changed. And so the way you approach life, the way life responds to you is going to be very different. And that's a lot to adjust to. Because again, as I said, it doesn't matter how old you are. You have lived this experience that kind of comes from this certain perspective or has these certain rules, or you have had this certain understanding of yourself and others. And all of that is changing. Partly because you've been seeking it, I believe. I believe if you're listening to this tarot reading, you're probably a spiritual seeker. You probably have been seeking some kind of enlightenment. And as these epiphanies arrive and as this transformation arrives, it's shaking everything up for you. And that's a huge adjustment. We also got the Twin card. And what I wanted to say about this is it was interesting to me that it came up because you're Gemini, the sign of the twins. This card talks about soulmates and how soulmates aren't necessarily just romantic partners, but they're like a lot of important people in our lives. Like your brother in this life could have been your wife in your last life. And that even though our gender presentation and our relationships to one another change from lifetime to lifetime, the core of our souls and the depth of our connection never breaks. Also, I think the same is true for you in your relationship with yourself, right? Like you may be changing very drastically in ways that you feel like you don't even recognize yourself. But it's important to remember that there are core elements of who you are that can never be changed, that are constant. And an example I can give you is, for me, being a little kid, I loved elephants, and I still love elephants. Like, elephants are my spirit animal, for lack of a better term, but like I have a deep emotional, spiritual connection to elephants, and it's like nothing has ever shook that or changed that. And that seems maybe even silly and surface level, but it's like, that's an example of something that symbolizes the core of my soul. Like something that no matter how I change my worldview or my perspective or my approach, there are some things about me that remain unchanged about how, like, maybe I'm sensitive and how I care about, like, family as a collective in the same way elephants do. And I'm, you know, so that's me. I'm sharing it in case maybe you connect with the idea of rooting into something about you that you know has been true about you for as long as you've had consciousness in this lifetime. Like, I've always loved to draw and nothing has ever made me not want to draw. So it's like kind of part of this message is like you can connect with aspects of yourself that remain unchanged and kind of ground in them, especially since you're an air sign. I think having those things that bring you back to yourself might be really important at this time, because what we're seeking for you is this calm within all this big transformation. And a lot of this, a message I got earlier when I was doing a reading before was that these are like candles, and the books here says it refers to them as wishes that are made. The snake represents that Kundalini transformation energy, which we can talk about a little bit over here too. So I think it's saying partly stay present and stay open to the conclusion of this book of your life, right? Because it's going to be, it sounds like it's going to be a radical shift, because as I said, the next part of your life is based on maybe like a different paradigm of relating to the world and yourself and others, and that can be very disorienting. I got these two cards that kind of felt like they were speaking to a little bit of that overwhelm, with kind of maybe the overwhelm of getting everything you ever wanted, right? A little bit. And everything you ever wanted, meaning not necessarily a relationship or a job, but also, again, that kind of sense of, perspective shift. So with the Ten of Wands, this is about burdens and carrying a little bit more than you need to carry. And I feel like you might be putting responsibility on yourself where it's not necessary to do so. Or, I mean, I was also earlier getting with the Judgment, this is a little bit of a life review energy, and it's at a culmination. So it's like this is what leads up right before the World, which is the kind of happy ending card. And this is the sort of like epiphany about what led you to the World, to the like kind of conclusion of that cycle book thing. So here we go. We got Judgment. And maybe in your life review process, kind of looking back on where you've come from, maybe you have some regrets, because you're human and we're all flawed and we've all made mistakes. But maybe it feels like to me there's like a particular harshness with some of it. Just feels like to me the Nine of Swords with this Ten of Wands energy and what's been coming up in this reading in general, it just feels like a general harshness with yourself, and maybe carrying a responsibility for the world that's not really yours to hold. Kind of like having the weight of the world on your shoulders. Like the world has come, but it's like with the Ten of Wands, you're holding the world on your shoulders instead of sitting on top of the world. That's kind of been coming up in other readings too. I think it came up for Taurus. I don't know. And I gave an example in another reading, and I'll give it to you too. I'm in a group work dynamic where, Five of Swords, there's a lot of conflict. And this has been coming up a lot for me personally, and it's sort of a repeated message for other signs, but I think it seems to be an important one to understand, and maybe I'm still learning how to understand it, so bear with me. I'm in a group situation. There's a lot of conflict. And, you know, being a spiritual person, I kind of do somewhat abide by the belief that life is a little bit of a hologram, or maybe I am attracting my reality. The idea that like lessons repeat themselves until you learn them. And whenever I'm in difficult group situations, Five of Swords, conflict and competition, that's kind of shady dealings, manipulation, miscommunication, stress, blah, 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 all that energy of this. It can be easy to start internalizing that, like, what am I doing wrong? People say, oh, you work in group situations, so you learn how to work with difficult people. But I was thinking, you know, I've worked for like 10 years of my life at least. And I've had many of these difficult Five of Swords situations, and I don't feel like I've ever really learned how to deal with difficult people. I've tried all different strategies. I've yelled at people. I've been calm with people. I've been generous with people. I've gone above and beyond. I've done less. And it's like, no matter, it's like kind of like Five of Swords energy, being in situations where you're set up for failure, basically. Like, you're not able to win because there's just, that's the energy, right? It's like you're trying to, like, that idea of trying to transmute Five of Swords energy, but not being able to. So to come back to these two, it can be kind of like, what am I doing wrong that this keeps happening? Judgment, right, too. Like, doing this reflection, this life review, this kind of like looking at the patterns of your life. It's like, okay, I'm noticing this pattern, but it doesn't go away, and I'm just stressed out, I'm anxious, I don't know what's wrong with me, that like these patterns have come up again and again, time and again. And feeling overwhelmed and burdened with the responsibility of like, what do I need to do within myself to make the world reflect more of what I want, right? And that's kind of what this reading is about, though, is that you're at a point in your life where you are transforming, and what you are transforming is partly, I think, realizing where it's not about what's happening in the external world. It is about your response. And it's not about your response in the sense of even how you treat other people all the time. It's your response in terms of how you treat yourself. Twin, right? Especially for you, Gemini, twin could be about relationships with others, which is something we're talking about, but it's also about your relationship with yourself. So it's like, where are you beating yourself up unnecessarily over things that aren't your fault? I think that's a huge message. And I think you are advised, according to me in this particular tarot reading, if it resonates with you, to not take on that responsibility anymore, which sounds counter to the whole New Age philosophy, but a lot of this is about releasing New Age guilt, right? Yes, maybe the same lesson keeps repeating itself, but maybe the lesson to be learned is not, I need to treat these other people a certain way. It's like, I need to treat myself a certain way. I need to be like firm and rooted in who I am and my goodness and my sense of self. That's the world. And we also got the King of Wands, and I really like that for you, and particularly connecting to this part of the message, which is like treating yourself like you are the creative king, genius, magnanimous, passionate ruler that you are. I know this is a fire energy and you're an air sign, but Geminis are very creative, very funny, very charismatic, very like good storytellers. There's a lot of good that Geminis offer the world. And Geminis also, particularly you as a sign, typically, like, people drag Geminis a lot, right? They're like, oh, they're two-faced. Oh, they're, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. They're unreliable. They're Dr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde. And, you know, when you get bombarded with that type of messaging over and over again, if you're at all sensitive and, like, empathetic, which you probably are if you're spiritual, you might be like, oh, maybe I am two-faced. Maybe I am like this crappy person who isn't reliable. Maybe I'm bipolar or something. Like, what's wrong with me? That's sort of what I'm getting with this, right? It's like, here people are coming for you and attacking you and throwing shade at you, telling you you're a shady bitch or whatever, and then you're like, wow, like, maybe I am. But, and I was also talking about, like, my connection with elephants earlier, finding those core things, and it's like, I think with the twin, and the calm within transformation, and now this King of Wands, and the world, I think it's like, how can I fully, it's like kind of radical self-acceptance too. It's like, how can I just see who I am, warts and all, and kind of just say, yeah, that's who I am, that's what you're dealing with, that's what I offer the world. You know, instead of considering yourself two-faced, maybe it's like, you could reframe that like, I'm flexible and I'm able to see things from different points of view and different angles, and that means that I can be like a person who offers complex, full spectrum perspective, and maybe I'm not playing devil's advocate to like hurt people. Maybe it's because people need to be able to see both sides of the story or see the paradoxes, right? I mean, that's something that Geminis, I think, are also great at, that a lot of signs aren't, is holding space for the paradox of two opposing things that cancel each other out to be true at the same time, right? And so here people are maybe giving you crap for it, or telling you you're a bad, wrong person and that you hurt them. And it's like, you know, maybe we do hurt people sometimes, but I think there is an element of taking personal responsibility for how we treat others, and then also other people having to take responsibility for how they are responding to you, or just understanding that sometimes like you don't match with people and that's okay. Like, I guess it's just, what I'm saying is, there are some people in the world who want to be hurt. They want to be victims. And so it's like kind of Gemini, like either you might be finding yourself in situations where it's like you can do no right with these people, and that's maybe becoming a burden of your own anxiety, you internalizing all this stress, wondering why it keeps coming up and again, wondering where you went wrong, judgment energy, but judgment like being really harsh on yourself. And particularly in the context of this major book ending of your life, with all of this radical change, it just could again feel very disorienting and very like, yeah, I mean, I got the Four of Cups, and that's another card that was kind of giving me these vibes. Is like, this is a card of disappointment and of kind of like, I think short-sightedness is also another word that comes up. It's like this guy is like looking at these three cups, and he's like, damn, I wish I had another cup, or, you know, maybe it's like kind of also a feeling of isolation, because I get with like the Three of Cups, the Three of Cups in the deck is like the friendship community card. But it's like here he is all on his own, sitting looking at the idea of community and whatever, and he's just feeling kind of like, I don't know that this guy is ungrateful, but it just feels like there's sort of him not seeing what's right in front of him, which is this fourth cup. And this cup is being delivered by a hand of God, like the Ace of Cups, which is the card of love and fulfillment. And so, I mean, the message I'm getting right now is kind of like filling your own cup. Filling yourself with self-love and self-acknowledgement and that radical self-acceptance of not worrying about how these other three cups are responding right now. Letting go of the burden of being responsible for other people's shit, and like knowing that the reason the lesson's repeating itself is not because you're doing something wrong or you are wrong, but because the universe wanted you to get into deeper connection with yourself, where these things could be happening and you wouldn't beat yourself up or like, you know, get all mad at yourself for it, and that you could allow yourself to just be a Gemini, and to be a Gemini without apologies, and to be a Gemini without kind of like shrinking yourself and trying to like only be one part of yourself too, especially since you are a twin. It's like maybe as a Gemini you've been only trying to be the like good good girl version of yourself, or good boy version of yourself, or good person version of yourself. If you're non-binary, like no gender, whatever, totally good. But maybe you need to let yourself be your bad girl, bad boy, bad person self sometimes, and that helps create your balance and your sense of your complexity and what you do offer the world. So I hope this is making sense. But that's a lot of what I feel is important for you right now, is you really just letting yourself be you and not feeling personally responsible for everything that's gone wrong in your life. Yes, you've probably made mistakes with your past life thing, but you also have this fresh new start. And so I think the universe also kind of wants you to understand this deep sense of self-acceptance and not taking it all on and not like internalizing Five of Swords conflict energy, because you have a fresh slate. Oh, and also this King of Wands, right? Like you being the creative leader of your own life and you really kind of stepping into your power. And yes, it's fire, but you still can be passionate and you can still be creative and you can still be driven and you can still have like fire behind you, especially if you have fire placements. So we have Death and Ace of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles in reverse, and this card called Something That Is Never Truly Yours. So let's kind of talk about those for a moment. All right. So we've already been talking about transformation. You're at the world. You're at the end of the book. There's been a paradigm shift. A lot of what's coming up is feeling disoriented, feeling kind of disconnected from yourself. And a part of what we've been talking about is you coming back to the core of yourself and accepting yourself and loving yourself without kind of the apologies or the like shame or the guilt, and filling up your own cup of love without worrying about, you know, the others per se, and kind of absolving yourself of these burdens and this anxiety based on stuff that isn't necessarily your fault. Or even if it was something you were contributing to, it's like kind of having this different perspective of like, maybe sometimes people need you to be the villain, and like it's not because you're a bad person, it's just that's the role you happen to be playing in their life because those are the lessons they need to learn. And you know, of course, I'm not saying like, oh, go murder people and be a horrible person. I'm just saying we can't be all things to all people, and you being accepting and allowing yourself to be the full faceted version of yourself is really important right now. We got Death, and I think this is death of, to me, this is the death of the you that wasn't letting you be you. This is the death of the feeling like you needed to change. And it's like kind of this weird, I mean, there's a paradox, right? It's like you're changing drastically, but the thing that's changing about you is you're not forcing yourself to change anymore. Meaning, kind of like this. You're a lion. Well, you're not a lion. Leos are lions. What's an animal that would be like a Gemini animal? I don't know. Hawk is coming to me. We'll go with it. You've been a hawk. You like to fly. You like to go kill rabbits and stuff. And people were like, don't fly so high. Don't, because it's not safe. Don't kill rabbits because they're cute. And like, blah, blah, blah. So you've maybe been, that's an example, like you've been maybe approaching life from going against your own authentic nature. And now that's ending. That's the death. The death is the you going against your own authentic nature. So what's changing is now you're going to let yourself follow your instincts more. So you are going to fly higher. You are going to kill rabbits and eat them because you're a hawk, right? Like, that is kind of what I'm talking about with this death. It's like there's a lot of change, but the change is you not changing anymore. The change is you just letting yourself be. The change is you kind of like not trying to be someone you aren't. It's you being your own soulmate. It's you having a personal understanding of your own compass, your own right and wrong, your own kind of like boundaries of who you are and like being that. And we also again got that calm and transformation. So the end of the book of this part of your life is there was a Gemini before who like tried to do everything based on other people's perception of them. And now this new Gemini version of you moving forward is the one that is the most authentic you've ever been. It's the world, it's the happy ending, it's the you letting yourself really go for your truest, most authentic life, which is also probably changing on a daily basis too, right? And knowing that change is part of your nature and that you are learning to be adept at navigating that. So then the last thing I got is kind of like pertaining, it seems, to money, career stuff. Ace of Pentacles, new opportunities on the way, particularly in terms of like what you're building in your life, the legacy. So it seems like with this sense of like perception shift of who you are and how you relate to yourself and then how you relate to others on top of that, you are having new ideas come to you, new people are reaching out, right? It's like, I mean, I'm kind of like drawn to this like path and like there's a mountain and it's like, this is like the new horizon of like the new things you can champion, the like, since this is over, right? It's kind of the like, whew, where are we going from here? Knight of Pentacles in reverse just makes me feel a little bit like it's cool to take it slow, and it's also cool to not know what that is. Like, there might be a little bit of that residue, again, I'm talking about, of this sort of thing where, like, there's, like, the perception or that you have to figure it all out. But we also got this, and this kind of talks about money and about how no one really owns money. There's a book I was reading a while ago called It's Not Your Money, meaning, like, we're kind of conditioned by our culture to hoard wealth and to like hang on to things and to have a scarcity mindset, but it's like really like money is an exchange, and it's something that's just kind of an energy that's like flowing like the way maybe like a river would flow, and we don't like, it's not my dollar, it's a dollar that I'm presently having, and I'm going to use that dollar and give it to someone else on purpose. I'm not attached to the dollar serves a purpose. And it's the same true with relationships too, right? Like, we don't own people, we don't, like, have them. We're just traveling parallel in our lives with other souls, and we share experiences with them. So it feels kind of like part of maybe the message or the idea to move forward with, which is like an openness. It's like, instead of grasping and holding on to things, which doesn't seem like it would be in your nature as a Gemini anyway, to really like open up your palm like this one and let things come into your palm, right? So like opening your clenched fist and like allowing, like maybe even like just doing a ritual of like holding your hands like this open and like letting things pour to you. I mean, we also got this thing, like there's like a lot of like hands of God, right? Like kind of that faith, that surrender, that trust in the universe, that the things that are meant for you are going to be coming in, and that you don't need to grasp or hold on to things to, like, what is yours will not pass you by. You can let go of an element of control because you have maybe even a deeper sense of your ability to manifest, right? The more you're kind of letting yourself be you and follow your instincts and follow your true self, the more you're gonna kind of like get in alignment and harmony with the world, right? So this is all about a major perception shift, I think. And I guess that's your message. It's done, and I love you. I hope it resonated. If it did, you know, like and subscribe, and also maybe like let me know what you want to let me know in the comments, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.